One of the really cool things about having an office is that you get to arrange it in a way that is suitable for what you're going to use it for. Unfortunately, I'm still struggling to figure out exactly how I'm going to use my space, and so the layout keeps changing, and so my background keeps changing, and so my videos keep, shifting angles and stuff like that. Please bear with me as we figure all of that out. My name is Seth. I'm a full-time fantasy author, and I want to talk about why originality is overrated. Today, we're going to be specifically talking about the myth of originality and why it's important that as an artist, you learn to imitate the people around you. The most popular book in the history of mankind says it well. There is nothing new under the sun. All is vanity. We're going to leave aside that second part and just focus on that first part. There's nothing new under the sun. Because it's true. Pretty much anything that exists has existed in some form or fashion before. Every new thing that's created doesn't come from nothing, but instead it comes from component parts that have been cobbled together from existing things. And you might think to yourself, well, Seth, what about new inventions? Like cell phones didn't exist. Sure, but all of the pieces to make a cell phone did exist. The ideas that led to the inventions that eventually led to the cell phone all existed before the cell phone. Before we held the first cell phone in our hands, we understood the concepts that went into it. Otherwise, we never would have been able to create it. And the same thing is true for everything, and doubly true for stories. Because every story that we tell is really just a reframing of age-old principles and concepts that have been with humanity forever. So then you might ask yourself, well, if there's nothing new under the sun, then what's the point of even being a creator? How can I create something interesting and unique and special if there's nothing new? Well, that's where we get to the myth. And the myth is that originality has value. Now, I say that's a myth, and I want to be a little bit careful here because there is value in originality, just not as much as we've been led to believe. See, there are cultural reasons why we, especially in the West, are so fixated on being original. And those cultural tendencies have driven us to the point where we now seek originality, especially in art, above everything else. But do you know what originality for originality's sake leads us to? It leads us to really bad art. And I'm not talking about the principle of make bad art. No, I'm just talking about art that is subpar, that's just not as good as it could be. Now, I'm sure that there are some of you who are watching this video who don't agree with me, who think that originality in art is really important. And I think you're wrong. And let me tell you why. To be original, to be truly original, is to create something that nobody else has ever created before, which decreases the ability of anybody who interacts with it to understand it. So you can make incredibly original art. It will just be incomprehensible. And because art is a means of communication at its core, expressing a feeling or a thought or a belief, an idea to other people, the more original you get, the further from the point you get. So you can make incredibly original art, and guess what? Nobody's going to get it, and you're going to have wasted your time. You know, I can already sense the people with pitchforks coming after me for this video, but it's okay. This is a hill that I'm willing to die on. Do you know what's better than having completely original art? It's having art that speaks to people. It's having art that can impact the people around you. It's having art that can communicate clearly and efficiently, expressively, the thing you want to communicate. It's having the ability through your painting or your music or your writing to express emotions. But you have to start with something that people already understand before you can do that. Imagine if you came up with a completely original language. How much luck do you think you would have walking down the street communicating with people? You'd have none. If it was a completely original language, nobody else would speak it. And that's what I'm talking about here. Art is, at its core, a way of communicating with other people. And so to seek originality for the sake of originality just undercuts your ability to participate in that communication. Now that I've put myself out on the limb and potentially even sawn it off behind me, let me talk about where originality is important. If you want to create something that stands the test of time, you need originality. If you want to communicate feelings that are true to yourself, you need originality. If you want to build a shared experience between you and your community, you need originality. You just need it in the right dose. You need a little bit of originality. You need to take common things that we all understand and you need to present them in a new and a different way. Not in a way that's unrecognizable, but in a way that immediately sparks a reaction and yet still provides the opportunity to present new ideas. That's where originality is valuable. Not for its own sake, not so that we can be avant-garde or cutting edge. No, originality needs to exist in context that everybody already understands. I think that this lie that as artists we need to be original is one that cuts at the heart of what art is actually about. And so rather than seeking to be original in everything we do, we should instead embrace commonality, embrace the things that allow us to connect with other people, and then give our own unique perspective. Believe me, that is all the originality that you need.